Well, hello everybody, so welcome to Simplicity of Logic. Today we'll be talking about not to avoid using negative feelings in everyday life. Now the negative feelings I'm talking about are feelings such as vengeance or hate, but in moderation. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I feel the world is nowadays so engulfed in this feeling of positive nature that they are avoiding what could be an asset to them. One example of this is really The Secret. Now, I don't disagree with every premise in the book, but I do disagree with the idea that if you manifest it and you think positive about $100,000 or a sports car, that it will happen, and that anybody can do it. That's not true. Work situations, life, and everything all play a part. And if you just decide to delude yourself, it could be more damaging than good. All right. And on top of that, stick with me on this. Negative feelings in moderation, what is it? It's basically the justice system. It's basically justice. Think about it. Why is it not that if someone did wrong to you in the justice system, that we don't just forgive them our love and all that, if it's really such an effective way of doing things? Alright? The reason why we use feelings of vengeance and hate in justice is because we want people to know if they do something bad, there will be something bad happening to them. Thus, vengeance. On top of that, you got hatred, meaning that if you do something bad will happen to you. It's basically a deterrent. So at the same time, I argue that you can use these feelings to help yourself, alright? Of which examples I'll give later below. But first, let's talk about the cons against my argument. So first we'll talk about the cons against my argument. The first and most popular one is, of course, like with the Star Wars example, the dark side, where if you focus on hate and vengeance too much, that it will consume you and destroy you. And that's absolutely true. I totally agree with that. But at the same time, I argue that if you let anything consume you, that it will destroy you. Such as something good for you like exercise, which I taught in my last video, in fact, why a person should exercise. But if you allow exercise to consume you, literally you're exercising non-stop to the point where it's destroying your body, that is again a problem. So you should, again, anything in moderation, and that's what actually I'm arguing, is that you should use hatred and vengeance, the feelings, these negative feelings, in moderation. And the second point against is actually on the point of like the justice idea. At what point does it become petty and the point does it become entitlement? The issue, of course, is it's very much more easier to allow hate and anger to cross a line where it becomes unhealthy. Alright? And I totally agree with that. So for this basically is also, again, it's the moderation issue, and it's just self-moderation and self-monitoring. But again, this is a point I agree with, but it takes self-discipline to deal with this issue. So let's go into the pro-arguments of my point of debate. And my main point, of course, is that the negative feelings can be as good or even a better motivator to improve yourself as any kind of positive thing. Alright? So, for example, I'll give you a personal example of mine. I used to live in a dorm for 4 years, alright, and basically these two people called Gavin and Nick, alright, they basically used me for many a year there, and I even got a nickname out there. It was called the Bitch of E-House, alright, and I knew about it, but the thing is that I believed at the time in the purest form of Bushido, which is samurai ethics, and loyalty is the most important thing, and that it doesn't matter how the person treats you as long as he's truly your friend. And my point of focus being a true friend is that the person will be there at the end. Of course, I only learned later on in the years that they were not going to be there at the end, and that they were basically just using people as long as it benefited them. Quick example I'll just give is that there was a birthday party thrown for me. I don't celebrate birthdays, alright, and I turned to Nick, who I basically said to him, there's this girl which is a friend of the entire house, and I said, like, look, I know you want to sleep with her, but as a personal request of a friend, don't do it tonight, alright? I don't want this day synonymous with hurting anyone. He turned to me, he basically said, if she wants my dick, she wants my dick, alright? So that's the kind of friends they were, and it's unfortunate, I admit, for myself being even stupid, to only for me notice that near the end of 4 years. And how did I use all this hate and anger? And trust me, I had a ton of hate and anger at the end of it. Alright? I didn't come back to Singapore and I didn't come after them and get people to beat them up or stalk them and it's like throw them on Facebook, whatever. What I did was I kept the hate, I kept the motivation, and now I use it every time I meet someone. I know that I don't want to be taken advantage of, and I use that to improve myself. I learn things like how do you read facial tells and from poker and all that. Is to learn all these things to know when someone's taking advantage of you. As you see, I truly believe that I've improved myself in that way. And at the same time, for a very quick note, that my vengeance to them is pretty simple. I treat them like how they have treated me. Do unto others, basically. For me, I would treat them exactly how they treated me, in that if I see them ever get knocked down by a car, and I was the only person that could save them, I will be absolutely honest, these are 2 or 5 people in the world I know personally that I really would just let, how you say, die. Because I truthfully also feel that they do nothing good. Okay, never use superlatives, never use absolutes, that they basically they'll do more harm to the world than good. So to deal with the problem of when does the feelings of hate become petty or entitlement, is a simple method. It's the do unto others system, which is you apply back the idea that you apply this hate on someone else. Actually, if someone would do it to you, what would you feel is fair? Alright? So, like for me, anything that I put on Gavin or Nick, I apply to myself, meaning that if I betray someone, I myself do not expect forgiveness. That if I want to continue to try to get forgiveness, it is on me to try as much hard as possible to the point where I feel it's not fair anymore, that I stop. But I cannot expect forgiveness from them. Thus, it is a very self-policing idea, because you would always be so-called fair to yourself, right? So therefore, you take this idea and then you place, if you can logically place it on like a third person, all right, which is reciprocal between you and everybody else, it is self-policing. In conclusion, my point is pretty simple. Do not give up an asset that is given to you, be it by God or whoever it is. Use it. Use hate. Use vengeance in moderation. Use anything you can to improve yourself, because why would you not? Just because it's not popular by the masses. Galileo Galilei found out the world was round when everybody disagreed with him, and if he listened to everybody and just threw out this thing because everybody thought it was a bad idea, then we wouldn't have the truth. So, I wish you well. Use the hate, use the vengeance. Thank you very much. Till next word.